also be This will also be available for you on the YouTube channel. You could always access it a little later as well. I'm just going to allow people to join in. And a warm welcome. My name is Paras, and I would be doing a small webinar on understanding about NLP and what is NLP for everyone, what is NLP for success, and how this journey would look like, just to get an orientation of NLP as a science, as a technology, as a skill, as a behavioral change, or some sort of magic. What people say, I believe it's more like a logic. But let's understand and learn a little bit more about that today. So we have a slide to start with. We'll start with a video. Let's go with a very interesting video. I'll pause here further. It goes into little branding. So are you able to view the screen as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So let us begin a little bit about my introduction to NLP. And if you all have any questions, we will also address them in due course of the time. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. I will get to know from the option available on the Zoom. And it's easy to also put your questions, and also any questions if I ask you, you could answer them on the chat. We can read the chat as well. So we will keep it more engaging, this conversation. So first of all, let's start an understanding about what is NLP. NLP is called as Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Okay, so when we look at neuro, we look at the nervous system through which our experience is processed via 5 senses. So when I see Rajendra, Prasad, Aniruddha, okay, I am seeing from my visual, I'm listening to them, it's an auditory, I feel about them in a form of their conversations, the emotions that we generate, saying hello to each other. So through the peripheral nervous system, it goes to my to my central nervous system, where I'm processing information. So that comes with the linguistic, that's called language and other non-verbal communication system, through which our neural representations are coded, ordered, and given meaning, like pictures, sounds, feelings, tastes, smells, words, like a self-talk. So when I have a conversation within myself that will I be successful in my life? Will I be able to create a mark in the industry, or will I be able to be a good entrepreneur? So this is some sort of programming that is going on, a program which either has worked well for you or have created self-doubt. And that's where we look at the word programming. The ability to discover and utilize programs we run, the communication to ourselves and others, in our neurological systems to achieve our desired outcomes. So in a very simple way, we could look at, let's say, if I have a mosquito somewhere on my arm and I hit it, Okay, how does this work? This is a program that has been conditioned to protect myself. Or in a meeting, when in doubt, if I have a reactive method to shout, that means there is a program that's been created by your brain for self-defense. However, that may be working well for you in the past, but maybe as you're growing in whichever industry you are in, maybe in whichever designation you're in, but it's not applicable in the here and now. You want to change certain patterns of your behaviors. You want to change certain way you look at things in your life. And that's where NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, could be a very effective tool. So what Dr. Richard Bandler says that NLP is a methodology based on an overall operational presupposition. That means there are a lot of presuppositions we have about ourselves, about others, about our relationships, about the environment, about the situations that we deal with. And those all behavior has a structure. There's a predictable outcome to it. And that structure can be modeled, just getting somebody in. That structure can be modeled, learned, taught, and changed, that is reprogrammed. So what is not working well for you, you are doing the same thing and you're complaining about the same thing in your life. So if I ask you, what are the areas that you want to develop or what are the challenges you face, you'll see a similar language or a pattern emerging for you for years. And then there is some sort of stamp of like a personality type that this is what I am, I cannot help you, or I cannot help about it. But what NLP talks about is that you can model something that you really like, you can model. That's the reason if you see in our childhood, we had this posters of actors or bodybuilders or wonderful pictures of great models, and we look at them every morning, every evening, and there's some sort of create a modeling in our framework, the way we process information, and these modeled behavior help us to be more successful. That's the reason if you go back to reinforcement theory, anything that you practice for a longer time can create a new neural pathway. And when the new neural pathway is created, that means you can actually change or reframe your perspectives. Those particular way of your behavior that you would like to encourage or certain things that you want to change about yourself, those can be learned by either reading books, going through a NLP coach, okay, can be taught when you're going through any training programs. You are actually unlearning a lot about yourself and can be changed and reprogrammed the way you want to see your life to be. So what is not, whenever I ask my clients that, what is that you want? And what I get an answer to it is that I do not want to be fat. I do not want to be unsuccessful. I do not want to fail. I do not want to make a mistake. But they're not answering the question. That is, what do they want? Because the brain is conditioned and operating from fight or flight or crisis, or it's operating from the reptilian brain of fear. And that doesn't help the individual to think differently. So what we are working in this NLP techniques, it's all technique-based program. Like, and whenever you learn NLP, it's all technique-based. It's created from various therapeutic alliances, and then the techniques were created from them, and it became like a magic. It became like a life-changing experience for people. So when we look at NLP or reprogramming ourselves, that means you're rewiring your thinking pattern from what you don't want to what you want. And what you want is then you take it further to how you want to develop it. Now, if you notice here, whoever is interested for NLP, they just came in for the program. It's not what you feared and I do not want, you just came in. So unconsciously, if you see and monitor about yourself, you actually move to things what you want to create. You change things what you want to do. So if you're able to look at those situations in your life where you feel that things are not going well, how can you reprogram your thinking process? And the way to know what will be useful and effective are acute perceptual skills. Now, NLP has evolved as an innovative technology enabling the practitioner to organize information and perception in ways that allows them to achieve results that were once inconceivable. So I'd like to tell you a little story. I joined NLP, I learned NLP 10 years ago. I did it from many institutes in India, and I repeated program like NLP Practitioner, I repeated twice, and NLP Master Practitioner I did. And there's some sort of incompleteness feeling I felt. I felt that, okay, that's not helping me. What do I want to do? And then I started reading The Structure of Magic. That was one of the books of Dr. Richard Bandler. So Dr. Richard Bandler is a co-founder, co-creator of NLP. With John Grinder, in 1980s, he was very popular. Now he's been popular since then, and he created a lot of change in the thinking process of people. So when I started reading that book, I said that, okay, I want to learn NLP by Dr. Richard Bandler. And that's where in 2018, I went to the UK to learn the practitioner, then went to the UK to learn master practitioner. And then I had to come to the US to learn the NLP, train the trainer and NLP coach. My dream was to bring NLP in India and offer pure NLP, which is something more relatable to clients and people. So I'm going to wait for some more questions to come in as well. So if you have any questions for me right now, is it time for you to ask me? Okay. So Rajendra says that if motives drives behavior and motives are largely unchangeable, how is behavior is changeable? Is the contradictory theory? Yeah. So again, it talks about, yeah. Okay, so for me, my understanding, Rajendra, is that what is your intention is driving you to a particular way. Let's take an example. If I want to lose weight, is my intention or my motive. However, there are certain, or maybe there could be something like, I want to be successful in my business. And that's what I want to be progressing in my life. But then there is a part of me, which could be a self-talk told to me by many people, that I'm not good enough. And I constantly fear and cover that, and I don't take that risk to succeed or move ahead in my life. And that's where the contradictory, or what we say, the behaviors are not aligned to what I want. The behaviors are aligned to what I'm not looking at. So what NLP does is to reframe your thinking process to what you want to create. A simple example could be, what I want is where my brain will look towards it. Like, for example, right now, I'm leaning ahead in the conversation. And that means my brain wants to talk to everybody here. But the moment in a meeting, if I observe that somebody is not happy with something, they tend to lean back. Either they are contemplating, they're not towards what my conversations align. So you read the nonverbal cues and you start talking to people about the same, or you start looking at people and identifying and questioning about what is happening to them. So when I look back to, this is what I could think about at this moment, Rajendra, from the perspective of what you shared. And I understand that, if our motives drive our behavior, and motives are largely unchangeable. Now, this again is coming from a space of some assumption that motives are largely unchangeable. So maybe we could also relook at what do you want to create? So if you want to create something, you would be flexible. Maybe either you will be flexible towards your thoughts, towards your behavior, towards your attitude. So what is that you want to create? Sure. And that's where the reframing, or the what we say, the neuroplasticity takes place, where through new neural pathways, you tend to create what do you want to bring into the space. So this is something which I could look at answering to your question. But if there is something more, feel free to chat. I'm all welcome to bring your questions. Sure. Jyoti says that NLP is an attitude. NLP is a way of life. Now, This is something which helped me to look at choices in life. Like I always have choices, and I learned that from NLP, that I have choices, and I felt that no, I made a choice and that's I regret in my life. But if I look back to NLP techniques or NLP as an attitude, it really helped me to understand, no, that's my choice that I did. I bought Apple 7 when it was there, and now it's Apple 13, and I regret that. Why couldn't I wait for the 13? No, that was a choice I made at that time. What do I want now? What do I want to create now is what I will choose. And that space, that choice I have every moment in my life. And that gives a lot of space for freedom. That gives a lot of space for me to think that I can be more resourceful. I can be more operational. I can change things. I can do things. I can access my resourceful spaces. So that's something which I link very strongly with NLP as an attitude or way of life. So if there are any more questions, or how are you feeling listening to this as well, would be great. So Prasad, you have a question for me?
Yes. So yeah, sometimes in life, this whole you spiral down something that is, not working for you. And as you go to that path to spiral out, right, in a positive direction, either you call it a motive or a dream, or in starting something completely new. But because you're spiraling in this negative space, and yeah, it's not working, it's not working, just to dream something different also becomes a challenge, because now you don't know what are you, who are you, what you want to be. How do you spiral out of that? Because I think once you have that vision or a dream, I think it's okay. You at least the comfort starts coming in. But because you're in the spiral, it's so discomforting. I see this as a big catch. If you could throw some light on that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, Prasad. That when I'm getting into deep dive into that negative spiral, and I do not know, I feel I'm not in control. Okay, and that's where NLP techniques like an anchoring could help you a lot more. Okay, which will help you to understand that you have a choice to flip. Okay, just to give you a simple example, if you check out people who are depressed or sad, nervous, upset in life, choice of songs that they listen to is a pretty much attuned to that frequency. Now, what I ask people is to flip, do the opposite. Listen to some sort of sounds which are high beats, not trance, high beats. Okay, and check it out in 20 seconds. What would happen? You'll not be able to even close your eyes and get into a depressed state, because it's going to take you out from that. So mainly when I've been, 2018, 19 and all, I was traveling a lot. And every morning there's a training, or every afternoon there's a training, and you get tired and you're so nervously tired. What I used to do is I used to play this active beat songs like African drums. And then flip, I used to be able to come out of it. Now, the whole point here is that I'm in a spiral, I'm getting into the negative spot. How I'm going to anchor myself to look at the choice that I want to create, because even that is my choice. Even that,
I think you are rewiring yourself to something
absolutely
new.
What do you want to create? Because I don't like it, but I'm doing it because there's something when I say I'm doing it because I don't like it, but still I'm doing it. That means there's unconsciously I like it. That's my preference.
Yeah, the question that comes to my mind is, maybe you did the training and you came back to your room or whatever, and you played this African music. Yeah, but maybe I just don't like African music, right? And somewhere I think you're saying, hey, you know what? You kind of push yourself to that. So now why only Africa? And those choices again stop you, right? So nahi, yeah, मैं तो African music सुनता नहीं, why should I put it on? And again, you go back. So maybe some light if you could throw there.
Yeah. So you could listen to any music. It's not some upbeat music, which would be not matching the frequency for you to take you there. Rather than ghazals and certain songs, maybe listen to some active which can take you out from that mood. And it's just that moment you have to make that choice that, hey, this is going there, downward spiral. I can stop myself here. And that alertness is what I call it as you anchor yourself to something better. Okay. Or just opposite, call somebody whom you like just to chat or do something different. That is the room that you get into, which takes you to that spiral thing. Just do the opposite, go somewhere else, go outside, take a walk downstairs. Then you're not creating those neural pathways to leading you to feeling nervous, depressed, sad, or whatever it could be, but taking you to something that you want to create. Like in coaching, why coaching is and NLP is so much aligned, because it talks about reframing. What you don't want is what you are operating from. But the partnership between you and the coach that you want to create is that, what do you want to create there? And if that is created, then the brain has something to look at.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the way the brain goes towards it. And when it goes towards it, that means it is going to take that route and build it further. So in therapy, we do a lot of questions with why. A lot of therapeutic spaces. That's the reason NLP is not a therapy. NLP is a technique. It is a combination of skills. It's a combination of knowledge, attitudes, okay, that helps you to go with how you want to take it. I understand you're upset and you want to go to gym at least once, or you want to wake up in the morning, or you want to do something that you want to create. How you want to do it. Again, it's future pacing. Your brain is now moving towards what it wants to create. Yeah. So I like the point what you said, Prasad, was that's the moment where one feels getting into the spiral. But now look at what do you want to create. Okay. And it could be either a self-talk that you could do, or else it could be as simple as creating various anchors, visual anchors, auditory anchors, kinesthetic anchors. Yeah. So you feel more in control. Like pandemic was one of the spaces where many people felt sitting in their room, not okay about their lives. Okay. And some of them who were in touch with me, I was working constantly. Actually, we really brought out, what do we want to create now? What is the best thing that I have here in this room? Some people said, I want to clean my room. I want to make it better. Okay. And how does that change? And how does that make you feel? Oh, that makes me feel great. All right, then go for it. What will change if you do this? And many people came out of their depression state in very less time because they were able to anchor to something what makes them feel happy. It's like a pleasure and pain principle. You either fall in love with your pain, either you fall in love with your pleasure. Pleasure helps the brain to move ahead. Yeah. So that's something which I could resonate. I really liked your question, Prasad. Thanks for bringing that in the room. It actually brings a lot of awareness for everybody to understand about NLP as a technique. So thank you. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else, Prasad, that question, or have I answered enough? Well,
I guess, quick takeaways were like, quickly get into this, aware that, okay, you're spiraling, and then, use these, techniques, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, just change the way you probably want to walk or listen to what you see.
Absolutely. Thank you. Shijo. Good morning.
Yes, doctor. Good morning. Good morning, doctor.
You call me Paras.
To attend this meeting. Yeah, Paras. Actually, Paras, I wanted to ask something in line with Prasad. Actually, we have got quite many ideals in life, and we have got quite many ambitions in life. And then even every day has.
To hear your voice clearly, Shijo.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible. There's a little clarity. Yeah.
Okay. So I have got many ideals in my life. I've got ambitions in my life. Even every day has got its own goals and its own, tasks, everything. As you said rightly, But the problem is there is something called a laziness, and there is something called inclination of the body. Suppose I want to clean up my room today, but while cleaning up my room, I get anchored to something else, something that gives me pleasure. Maybe watching a movie, maybe watching or something else, or listening to a music, or going for play. Actually, I don't get anchored to my vision. I don't get anchored to my goal, but I get anchored to something else in between, which actually prevents me to achieve my goal. And there is something else called stability also. Suppose I clean my room. Okay, I take the hard work, and then somehow I manage to clean my room. And then the problem is the next day again, it's in a mess. I can't keep up the stability. So I achieve my goal, but still I can't go along with this. There is no continuity. So I have got these two troubles. First of all, I get disoriented. Second thing, even if I get oriented and if I achieve it, I won't be able to, have stability in this. So between these two, my life is stuck. So this is the problem which I face in achieving my goal. And this also, my brain is, it's oriented to multitasking. Like, there is one task which I need to achieve. There is one goal which I need to achieve, but in between something else comes. So I just drop this and I go after that. And finally, I reach nowhere, neither there or nor here. So this is a problem, existential problem, which I face. So would you please help me, or would you please throw this some light on this?
Okay. So there's a very long list of problems that you shared. So I'm going to just recap it. Okay. And whether we are on the same page. Okay. So what I understand first is about that you want to do many things. Okay. And then you get anchored with something that you really like to do, but that is not resourceful for as compared to cleaning your room to watching TV. Am I right? So you're watching TV and
yes, correct.
Then you realize, oh, my cleaning my room was not there. And even when you clean your room, okay, or you do something, it's not consistent. Okay, and that seems to be like a big problem, like a vicious problem for you, and you're struggling.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question to you is, what do you want?
This couldn't be defined so far.
Yeah, that's what my question to you is. You're defining something which you don't want.
Yeah.
So my question to you is that I would like you to ask yourself, not maybe necessary to answer it here, is what do you want? Okay. If you say you want to watch TV, you are anchored to watch TV. Okay, so do you really want to clean your house or clean your room and overcome the procrastination? Because the word procrastination for me, it doesn't exist. It exists between what choice I want to have. And I already made the choice.
Okay.
Like one person asked me in the class that I had to make a choice between my mother and my wife. And I happened to ask, are you staying alone? He says, no, I'm staying with my wife. So you consciously make the choice what you really want. So what is that internal resource that you need to touch base with in order to have a very defined goal of cleaning the room? If that is really if you want, or is it a borrowed goal? I have to be a good boy, so I have to clean the room. So check with yourself. And that could be a good way to start ourselves. If I want this, how sure am I? How do I want to go about it? Okay, so it's not to, I'm not saying that your question is not answerable. The question itself, the answer itself is in the question of what do you want to create? Now, when I say it's my nature, I get carried away. These are assumptions about ourselves. A very simple thing could be you have to make a payment to the electricity bill or mobile bill, otherwise the phone will be disconnected. What do? So what is not enough motivating you to clean your room? Okay. What is something that is missing that could probably anchor you to clean the room? And a simple question is, what do I want? Do I want this? Yeah, this is one way we could look at. There are many other techniques to, maybe not readily available in this session, but a lot more techniques to learn about your strategies. How is your strategy towards cleaning the room?
Okay.
What's the strategy towards loving to see the TV or Netflix? Could be.
Okay.
So the same strategy can be modeled to clean the room.
Okay.
What is helping me to clean the room is the joy that I get watching Netflix. How can I create within my space the same joy cleaning the room? Is what you learn and strategy.
Okay.
But in a very simple way to look back to this question, what do I want? Is a simple question you ask yourself and see if you could, chew that question for a while. It could be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, the word consistency that you asked me, very interesting space, that I want to be consistent. So if you want to be consistent, you will be consistent. What is lacking? What is something that the resources are lacking from my space, from my values, from my beliefs, from my identity, from my skills, from my competency that I need to have in order to have that? Am I not getting enough of what we call it as appreciation if I tend to be consistent? Am I getting enough motivation to be consistent? Internal or external motivation, internal or external values that I derive from my own self, or maybe an appreciation and acknowledgement from people around me. So it could be various factors to assess, okay, in order for me to be consistent. So that's something which I could learn from your question. I think I really enjoyed your question about the first part of it. Was pretty interesting and intense. We all face this. I'm generalizing it in a very different way. That means we get stuck to these at different levels in our life.
Yeah.
But how do we unstuck ourselves? How do we come out of that thought? Is to ask ourselves, what do I want? Whenever in my life, Shiju, I was stuck. I was having the repeated behavioral patterns. Okay. What I learned in NLP is behaviors are flexible. You are flexible human beings. So you change your behavior. You don't need to change the outcome. You just need to change your behavior. So the more we are flexible, the more we are adaptable to things around. So we can adapt to the new change that we want to create. Look at a very generic understanding about there was a lot of discomfort staying in the house, but now people are adapting to that, and the new norm has come in. So we have a natural ability to adapt. So we need to find, how do we adapt to something what we want to create? And also at a deeper level, I want you to ask yourself, what is your need to clean the room? What is your need to be consistent, which is different than your want? What is that you benefit when you're able to clean the room, or consistent in your approach of cleaning the room? And that need itself could be a good answer to this space that we are in. Thank you. Thanks for asking that. Yeah. So I want to quickly check with all of you. You've been listening to me.
Well answered. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Shishir. You've been listening for me for long. How are you feeling at this moment? What is your key learning so far? Put that in the chat if you want to. Anyone would like to put that, would like to share as well, would be great. Hey, Dickie, good morning to you. So glad you're joining. Okay, so Dickie has asked a question. Always worked for me, just listening to retro pop music. ABBA. Okay, Bonnie M. Air supply reframes me from sadness or anxiety to a more peppy mood. Excellent, yeah. So anything that suits is great. So anybody would like to share on the chat, or maybe if you want to talk to me and tell me, how are you feeling at this moment? What are your key learnings? We have another 1-2 minutes, so we can definitely chat that. And it's not a compulsory, so you have a choice. You can choose to write. Okay, Anirudh says it's all about making a choice. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the moment we feel that we have a choice, it makes us feel so good that we have that freedom to do whatever we want. And choice is better than no choice is one of the presuppositions of NLP as well. It says that we always have a choice in our life. So we will look at a quick, what are the myths about NLP? Now, this is something which I want everybody to really understand, that it says that it's manipulative and mind control. Now, this is one of the myths that I would like to unfold or bust out this myth completely. NLP works with the unconscious mind. That means there is a conscious mind, okay, which is 10%, and unconscious mind, that's 90%. Now, let's take an example. People, if you want to influence people, if you want to be with people, if you want to connect with people, you want to build rapport with people. So there's a rapport building, that is, you connect to the emotions, to the body language of people and operate with them. So let's take an example. If Aniruddha or Jyoti is smiling and I also smile back, or if Aniruddha say that, hey, Paras, this happened and it was a wonderful experience. Oh, I hear you saying, Aniruddha, that was a wonderful experience for you. So I'm building the rapport by using client's language, okay? Or I'm using language which is used by the person, maybe a friend, maybe a business partner, maybe a client, and that helps the other person to feel connected. That means the moment the person feels connected, they're aligned to the frequency of the conversation together. So that means it's somewhere it builds greater intimacy, rapport, trust with each other. So now the whole question is, how is it manipulative? It's not manipulative. Manipulation is far, far, far away from building rapport with people. Also, it talks about mind control, that NLP can control the mind. It's quite a very shady statement when it's a mind control, because mind is something which, if it's controlled, is going to get nirvana. Okay, so it actually helps you to work with the mind of people to bring shifts and reframe their perspectives of what they don't want to what they want. Now, some people go through certain NLP techniques, different workshops, they do some technique, and it doesn't work for them. Does that mean that NLP doesn't work for me? Or you haven't tried enough techniques? Because NLP is not what we call it as some sort of fixed technique that will work for everybody. Some techniques work for me, some techniques may not work for me. That means the techniques which don't work for me, it's fine. So NLP talks about behavior adaptation. We just spoke about it right now. That means you change your behaviors. Okay, you don't need to change the outcome. You just need to change your strategy. What's not working, forget it. What's working, go for it. It's same as therapy. Now, if you look back to in 80s, Dr. Richard Bandler and John Grinder created this technique. Now, this came from Fritz Spielberg and from Virginia Satire's model of family constellation, where Richard Bandler learned various sciences, from hypnosis to different theories and therapies, and created certain techniques which are based on skills and behaviors. You enhance your skills, okay, and you can change the behavior. So NLP doesn't talk about why. NLP talks about how. So it differs from therapy. It can be learned in books. Of course, you can learn. Books are best ways to understand. However, if you want to learn NLP techniques, you need to be attending some webinars. You need to attend a proper certification. So that's how you learn NLP. Otherwise, reading in books can give you some information, but not a hands-on experience. Can I teach NLP after NLP practitioner program? It's also some sort of myth people do believe. It's different. You learn practitioner is you become a practitioner. You practice that with your clients. You work and change your perspectives. help clients to achieve their goals. But teaching NLP requires a different set of skills, education, certification, all of that. So I'm just going to take a pause. If there are any questions, I'm just mindful about the time as well. Maybe I'd like to spend a little time here on benefits of learning NLP. Now, before I go here to learning benefits, let's watch this video on how NLP is useful for businessmen. Just give me a second. Okay, so we talked a little bit about how NLP can help businesses to reframe thinking process, to look at the vision, what people want to create. So some of the benefits, what learning NLP could be clarity on your vision, purpose, and values. So it helps you to align to what do you want to create, what is your deeper purpose of doing it, and how are your values attached to the vision or the purpose of what you want to create. Another learning that I have benefited a lot in my journey of life and my clients and learners is overcoming limiting beliefs. A lot of people have these beliefs that are assumed that this is what it is. And when you challenge that at different point, it helps people to operate from space of freedom and choices. A lot of people benefit from empowering and increasing their self-confidence and self-esteem. You actually work with managing difficult people because when we look at the word difficult, is some sort of image our brain carries about those people. Just a simple example could be if you have to think about one person whom you feel is a troublesome for you. Just think about that person right now. Close your eyes and think about an animal that resonates to that person. Okay? Now, if you open your eyes and write down that animal and check, how do you perceive this animal? That means the brain has perceived that some sort of difficult, truculent animal in your thinking process. And the moment that person comes in, the animal instincts arise and you feel like so threatened. Okay, what if you are able to learn in NLP changing that image, the grandiose image of that animal? What would happen then? If it turns out to be a rabbit or a puppy, somebody whom you feel, wow. And that's what NLP does. It changes your perspective. You're no longer threatened or fearing that person. developing new strategies for problem solving. That's how you learn now how to deal with them. That's how will come in picture, because the data which is grown out of proportion is now given some sort of structure which is easy to deal with. Also, NLP helps you to work on fear and phobia, pain and allergies, creating more freedom and choice over your mindset, breaking behavioral patterns, developing stronger and healthier relationships with people, improving your coaching skills, sharpening your saw, achieving greater success in negotiation and sales. So you build good rapport, work on anchoring, find where you get low and where you get high, match the frequency, and that's how you come across as a winner in life. So I'm going to take a pause here. I'm going to check if there are any questions emerging. I'm mindful about the time. We have another 12 minutes. Okay, so question is asked, hypnosis is a part of NLP. Now, Dr. Richard Bandler brings in the master certification a lot of trance states, because he also learned about Milton Erickson's theory and is inspired by that. So there is some part or derivative to hypnosis, or hypnosis is a part of NLP techniques. But it all varies about how do we use it. Not only in hypno, everywhere we use NLP. Absolutely, we use NLP in every walk of our lives, because we have certain ways to look at things. So definitely, we use NLP in all walks of life. So are there any questions for me so far emerging for you, everyone who's listening to me? You've been quiet for long. Anything that comes to your mind, anything that you feel right now to share?
Aniruddha here.
Hi, Aniruddha, tell me.
Hi. How NLP and coaching, they can mutually benefit each other. I mean, using NLP tools, techniques within coaching sessions.
I think there are various techniques that I would like to introduce. Maybe I'll come here directly. So one of the techniques that I felt is very powerful is perceptual positioning and creative visualization technique. These two techniques we use a lot in coaching, okay, where a client is able to understand what are the resourceful spaces that they can operate from. Firstly, the client gets the feeling of the choice that, hey, I have a choice to select what I want to create. And then when a coach is able to bring that space of what do you want to create, if you have all the resources with you, internal, external, what do you want to create a difference? And I think that really helps the client, because then the brain is able to visualize what it wants. That idea gets soaked in of what I want to create. And then the next part is how. Okay. And perceptual positioning is another technique, which is very powerful technique while working with clients. That is where you are working either as an observer, either being in the system, being an observer, looking at it from a systemic view. So these are different techniques that you may learn. You can also Google it a bit if you want to. But in the program, we teach you all of this. So creative visualization is one of the very popular technique that I feel, which we could use, or even any anchoring. Any of the anchoring technique, what makes you happy? What makes you want to do it? And how motivated are you to do it? So again, you're creating maybe a visual or auditory anchor, a spatial anchor otherwise here. Or when you ask the client that, how do you feel when you're sharing this, is again a kinesthetic anchor you're creating. Okay, so that's something which resonates to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next slide that I have for you, okay, so I'm mindful about the time. We have another 10, 12 minutes. So what will you learn in NLP Practitioner program? That's something that I would love to share with you. You learn about what is NLP, presuppositions, understanding language, communication, and behavior. You also learn about representational systems and activities, overlapping rep systems. This may sound a little different for you, but maybe just getting acquainted to these words can be helpful for you to know. You learn about meta models, you learn about goal settings, submodalities, eye-accessing cues, the chart, You also learn about rapport building, you learn about anchoring and various techniques, meta programs. The rest of them are all techniques and more techniques. So formal 6-step reframe technique, visual squash, perceptual positioning, Godiva chocolate technique, creative visualization techniques. So all motivational or motivational strategies and many other things that you would be a part of learning this program. So how many levels are there? Just for an education purpose, there are 3 levels that you can look at. You learn with NLP Practitioner of Dr. Richard Bandler. So this certificate comes from Dr. Richard Bandler School, that is Pure NLP, Society of Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And then you further take it either NLP Master Practitioner, so about after 3 or 4 months, if you want to take a break and then want to learn further, enhance it, or 6 months, and then an NLP Coach. So these are different ways that you learn. You're just not learning coaching, but you're learning NLP coaching. So that's a little different than just a coach certification. How do I go about learning different levels in NLP? So you can probably take that the way I shared with you. Something interesting that why learn from Dr. Richard Bandler School? That's one of my interesting questions, because I really love this man, a man with a lot of his own charm, that he is like a teacher whom I get really I feel very connected to. So Dr. Richard Bandler is a mathematician, philosopher, modeler, teacher, artist, and composer for 4 decades. He's 86, what I know, has left a legacy of books, videos, audios, art, students, and a body of knowledge that will change therapies. So that's what his belief is, that it changes therapy. You don't need therapy for anything. Education and medicine forever. He has hundreds and thousands of students across the globe and hundreds of licensed institutes all over India. So Dr. Richard Bandler has made his mark and says that he's just getting warmed up. So Dr. Richard Bandler really has, I'm privileged to learn with him. These are some of his popular books, if you like to read books and understand and get well acquainted to, and that's Dr. Richard Bandler's picture as well. So one of the best books that you could start with is The Structure of Magic. It is his PhD thesis. That's what he shares in that. And Ultimate Introduction to NLP is also a very powerful book. People who learn NLP, then Reframing is a good book to read. And a generic, simple book for anybody and everybody is Get the Life You Want and Persuasion Engineering and Thinking on Purpose. So very good for reading and enhancing your knowledge and awareness about NLP. Then we have, so various techniques that you would learn in NLP. That's 6-step reframe technique. How do you want to create what you want to create? A visual squash technique. How do you want to let go of certain things and create what you want to make a difference? Perceptual positioning, of looking at different perspectives, create a visualization, and changing personal history is to let go of something which is bothering you. So that's where you learn. And how do learners benefit while learning the program? Now, you've been wonderful, people who join this program for the last 45, 50 minutes. So there is something or the other it added advantage to your learning. In the same way, people who want to go this program also benefit because they also themselves go through while playing as a role of a client and a coach or a practitioner. Okay, you actually learn a lot about yourself. You unlearn a lot about yourself. You challenge a lot about your own self. So it is something which also helps you to view things in a much better way. So a lot of students or learners who go to this program has a lot of their own personal journey, personal empowerment. So if there is any question, feel free to ask me. I'm just mindful. How a common man benefit while learning this program? And that's something which we got a lot of questions when we got a lot of questions from people around when we were doing these campaigns about NLP. So there are 5 principles for success. If you can remember this, it would be great. One is to know your outcome. People respond best when they know what they want as opposed to what they don't want. And I think when Shijo's point came in and Prasad's point came in, I asked that, what do you want? And that's something, it sounds a little very strong that, what do you want? And I'm like, okay, how do I tell you this is what I want? Because I know what I don't want. So how in the NLP for success is talking about what you want, know your outcome, explore that, work on that part of you. Second is take action. So if you know what you want, is to move from, how do you want to take it further? Not with why. Whys are always going to put you into defenses and giving 1,000 reasons of why you're not able to do it. Okay, and there'll always be a yes but game that we'll keep playing with each other. Yeah, but that happened because, but. So rather than just how you want to do it now, if you have that idea, have the clarity. The third one is have sensory acuity. That means, as I told you, when you want something, your brain moves towards it. So to reach outcomes, know whether you're getting closer or further away. Learn to read feedback. Do you really enjoy gymming? Yeah, I do, but I have to, my doctor said. No, but that's not the question. Do you really enjoy that? If not, then create that motivation strategy to first induce that in you so that you like to do that. You're motivated to do that. Then you do it. Nobody can stop you. The fourth point, what Anirudh was sharing, it's just familiar to that, is have behavioral flexibility. Now, the person with the most flexibility will be controlling the element in the system. When you haven't got the outcome you want, whatever you're looking at in your life, maybe you're a businessman, whether you're sales, maybe you're a trainer, whether you're a coach, maybe you're a housewife, maybe it could be anyone. When you haven't got the outcome you want, change your behavior, not your outcome. What is not working? What strategy is not going well for me to go there, to be there? And remember, we can change because we have multiple resources to access, internal and external. So limitations point to possibilities. So where you're stuck, just identify that, change that. And the last but not the least is operate from a physiology and psychology of excellence. We are in control of our minds, therefore our results. The ability to control your physiology, that breathing, posture, language, and tap into your innate resources of attitudes, beliefs, and values you have within you at any given time is a state of true personal power. So your excellence and physiology and psychology is very important to get in touch with your own self to get what you want. And if there is any question, feel free to ask. This is just a general marketing statement. NLP Practitioner batch begins July 28. You can email us. You have our number. I love Dr. Richard Bandler's quote. One of the quotes is, the greatest personal limitation is to be found not in things you want to do and can't, but in things you have never considered doing. So it's a time for you to stop thinking and get going. So I'd like to close my presentation with that. Maybe everybody who's there in the room would like to help me out. If there is any key learnings that you want to share, what have you picked up for yourself? And then we can close this presentation. Or how are you feeling listening, watching, reading this presentation?
Yeah, Paras, so I think the key takeaway is essentially being aware, right? So the moment you're getting into a rut, make sure you don't. And at least that's the first beginning step always, right? And then it'll probably help you see what you really want and then go that path.
Absolutely. Thank you, Prasad, for that. Yeah.
May I, Paras?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. So,
Yeah.
Paras, it was absolutely insightful, fantastic. I'd actually written it down, but one of the biggest key learnings, I think, from whatever you mentioned on the NLP is, I think, energy flows where the focus goes, and because your body and mind are part of the same state. So, I mean, this is my biggest learning, and thank you so much for that.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that, DK.
Paras, I think it's been very insightful. One of the biggest learning for me is that behavior is flexible, and there's we all understand that it's a program, so you can program it for the outcome that you want, rather than keep brooding over the results that you see, right? So that's one. And just a small context that why I asked that question is that there is this Hayes 30 years of research which says that it's the motives that drive behavior, and it's the behavior that influences leadership, and it's the leadership that creates the climate and hence the outcome, right? So that's also a theory. So using that in our leadership programs, I was quite anchored on that. So, but what this program did well is that you can change your behavior if you kind of write the program, and there are I understand that there are various ways to achieve it, like one of them is mood change. When you say that, I found that quite useful, because I was just reflecting that in my personal journey, most of the time that I was very successful is the time that in the morning before I has to go to office, I has to listen to something really peppy, So it could be Sukhbinder, those high octave kind of music, and that really used to pep me up, and I used to reach the office like in a very different kind of a mood. I do relate to it because when I do gymming, there's a kind of music that I listen to when I'm contemplating, and I'm not mindful of the music so much, but there's something playing in and all that. So I quite relate to it. Thank you so much. It's been quite insightful.
It's glad to see you, Rajendra, after a very long time. So happy to see you. Yeah, great. So it was really nice, everybody. Anirudh, thank you for joining. Deki, Dharmishta, Ekta, Jyoti, Kashmira, Neetu. Hey, Neetu, good to see you. Prasad, good to see you. Rajendra, Shijo, Srinath, Vijay, all of them. It was lovely meeting you all, and stay connected. And if something that excites you more, please join in our NLP Practitioner batch, which is starting on 28th of July. Okay, please connect. I've shared my email ID to you. Please write to me. And lots of care to you. Be safe wherever you are, and give my love to your family and to everybody around you. Thank you, and namaste. See you.
Thank you so much, Paras, and Ekta too. I find that she's on the webinar, but didn't see her. So thanks, Ekta, for doing it together with Paras. I know you work with the backend quite a bit.
She's a big support, like my pillar. Being a sister, it helps, like you have a family together.
Great. All right.
Thank you, Rajendra, once again. Anirudh, were you saying something, Anirudh?
No, nothing.
Okay. All right, guys, everybody. Thank you. See you. Bye. Namaste. See you.
Thank you very much, Paras.
Thanks, Diki. Bye-bye there.